Hi, Matt Simon here. Today I'm going to do a lyrical analysis of Never by Indighost. This is one of my own songs, so again, might seem like a bit of a cheat to analyse, but because I know exactly what went into it in the background, I can give you a really deep analysis of what went into it. The song is based on the novel 1984 by George Orwell. The novel was completed in 1948 and he switched the numbers around. He was looking ahead to what the government might be doing and how it might be controlling the population in decades to come, and turned out to be extremely accurate. In the story, he works at the Ministry of Truth, which is one of the four main departments of government. The Ministry of Truth is basically propaganda, and another one was the Ministry of Peace, which is dedicated to keeping war going. So they're really a mockery of what they were supposedly doing. He works in the Ministry of Truth, which is spreading propaganda, and he meets a co-worker there, falls in love with her, but then the powers that be pull them apart, and they can never be together, and they know this, so the tension in the song comes from "we can never be together." First verse. She's a girl, never smiles, where she works is so full of hate, wears a red sash around her waist, angel-faced and she's still chaste. No one knows our affair, hid from all but the room we share, waking up to a summer breeze, grass stains on her knees. So in the story, they meet, but he doesn't really know her at the time. Where she works is so full of hate, again, is propaganda department. Wears a red sash around her waist. This was to signify virtue and chastity. No one knows our affair, so they start up an affair, hid from all but the room we share, so this means their private room. And sometimes they would take a train out the city and then have a picnic together, lie on the grass, and consummate a relationship, hence grass stains on her knees. And the chorus. I know this could never last, but I've never had it better. Something new to write in my diary. I'll hide it away where no one else will ever see it. We hold hands in a crowd. So this part of the story, I know this could never last, but I've never had it better. He knows that it will never come to a long-term relationship. And I wanted to use the word never at least once in the chorus to really emphasise that. Something new to write in my diary. He had a diary where he wrote his private thoughts and hid it. So even though all the apartments were monitored, they had to do exercise and they could be monitored through the TV. So he kept a secret diary, which is just something for himself. I'll hide it away where no one will ever see it. We hold hands in a crowd, so they couldn't be seen to be having a relationship. So occasionally when they're walking together in the crowd, they could touch hands, but only in a crowd. Next verse. Now we talk by instalments, a string of words longer than a street. Have to hide how we really feel, a new love to conceal. So this part, what they would do is they would walk together but couldn't be seen really together holding hands. So what they would do is they'd write little notes together, notes to pass to each other so they could read it. So it would last longer than walking up the street, the note. Have to hide how we really feel, a new love to conceal. Fairly self-explanatory. Now our lives are so fragile, through the dark for a little while. Here we are in a world of glass, and all of this will soon pass. And in the story, he bought a paperweight from an old shop, and there was some coral in the paperweight in the glass, and he could see this is quite noticeably a metaphor for the fragility of the situation and how the two of them were together in a situation that could be pulled apart at any time, and it was. So in the story, the authorities catch up with him. There's a sting operation through someone at work who pretends to recruit him for something, but then it turns out to be a lie once he's admitted that he's not completely party faithful. So the bridge section. They took me past 100 doors, way up on the higher floors. I wonder if she's somewhere near, up against the greatest fear. Betray a love to save a life, now she'll never be a wife. I never thought we'd end like this, I still remember the final kiss. So in this part, in the bridge, they were taken out to be interrogated and tortured, which was in room 101, hence they took me past 100 doors, and there's a friend of mine actually gave me that lyric, so thanks for that, Johan. Way up on the higher floors. I wonder if she's somewhere near, up against the greatest fear. So they were taken separately to be interrogated and tortured, and in room 101 they'd face their greatest fear, and in Winston's case that was rats, so he had a mask put on and rats were put on his face. And eventually what happened was they cracked under the pressure and sold each other out. Betray love to save a life, now she'll never be a wife, so they were forced to betray each other to break their will. I never thought we'd end like this, I still remember the final kiss. So at the end of it, their will has been broken and their mind has been reprogrammed. So, and this is where they get the phrase double think, because you can think two opposing thoughts which should be contradictory, but they're held together. So they've basically been brainwashed. The girl was described as a rebel from the waist down, which is quite cool. So she was against the whole party politics, and he was as well. So they were found out, tortured, brainwashed, mentally broken, and then essentially just sent back to work once they'd got to the stage where they're like a zombie. So there's double think. So they're thinking one thing, but then thinking the opposite thing. So they know they're not robots. So they know that the things around them are bad, but they also have the thought in them that, oh, this is fine. The party is great. Along with the cycling news of the constant war and the victories. So they're brainwashed, so they're being turned back into sheep and then fed back into the machine. So it's a very dark book, but it is really cool. So I very much recommend you read it or watch the film. Hope you enjoyed this one and it was informative, so let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you've got any more suggestions for lyrics for me to analyse, please put them down below. Thanks.